Well, it seems after Alexander Isak's fantastic performance yesterday, once again, the media are linking him with a move away from Newcastle United as early as the winter transfer window. Now, I know we've spoken about this many times on this channel about Isak and how the southern media bias is always linking him with teams like Arsenal, etc., and that there's teams better than Newcastle United that he can go and play for. Never taking into consideration how the player's feeling or anything like that. Isak himself said a few weeks ago while he was away with Sweden that he was loving his time in Newcastle and he was just ignoring all the media hype. Now, apparently this morning, TalkSport, yes, those lovely people at TalkSport, have once again tried to rock the boat by suggesting that Eddie Howe is nervous about losing Alexander Isak in the coming winter window. Now, look, Eddie Howe knows that probably we have to sell a few players in the winter window. There's no doubt about that. But not our elite players. Eddie has spoke many times and said that during the transfer windows, we want to build. We don't want to lose our elite players. And that is because we want to get to the very top. And it's fair enough, you know, when you have a clinical striker and a fantastic player like Alexander Isak or a Bruno or a Tonali or anybody like that, they're always going to be linked with moves away from the club. There's always going to be giants of football interested in signing these players. But for Isak, it's not the giants of football, it's Arsenal. And look, I know Arsenal are a big club. I'm not denying that. But when you look at the two clubs themselves, Newcastle United are on an upward trajectory. Their ambitions are there to see. Now, we're only hindered by PSR and FFP and whatever you want to say about it. That is hindering the club bringing in some elite players and spending fortunes on players in order to get to the very top. But that's not to say that we can't do it. You know, we've managed to attract these fantastic players like Botman, Bruno, Tonali, Anthony Gordon, Isak, etc. We've managed to get them to come to the club. So why can't we do that in the coming windows with what we've got? We know we have to sell players. We've got players who are there, known as Deadwood, that need to leave the club. Okay, but now TalkSport, of course, are now banging on about how Alexander Isak is wanting to move and that Eddie Howe is really worried about losing him. But I don't know. The guy looks really happy at Newcastle United, and I guess this is, again, the southern media trying to cause trouble for Newcastle, as if to say, well, why does he want to play for Newcastle? Why doesn't he want to come down south and play for Arsenal, or anyone else for that matter? Why does he want to play for Newcastle? Well, you ask any player that has played for Newcastle, and this is getting really back to the story of what was going on with Troy Deeney and the stuff that he said, the stuff Agbonlahor said. Nobody seems to think down south that Newcastle United is an ideal place to play football, or it's a lovely city and a lovely region to live in. Nobody takes that into account. It's always sort of, it's like up north is like this black and white, isn't it? There's no colour up here. It's always dull and miserable. And I don't know where they get that from, quite frankly. I really don't know where they get that from, because it's always coming from people who've never spent any time in the area. Because ex-players, have loved their time here. Some have even stayed in the Northeast to live out the rest of their lives. But again, we just seem to think that football is all about the London teams or the Northwest teams. It's never about the Northeast. It's always dull and grey up there. Why would anyone want to play for Newcastle United or anybody else in the Northeast? It's pathetic. Honestly, it's really, really getting boring now. It was Tony Cascarino that made the comments this morning on the TalkSport Breakfast Show, saying how Eddie Howe has spoken about not only his goal scoring for Isak, but he's actually said he's very popular there as well, so he would be a huge loss. Now, these comments Cascarino has taken on as if he's going in January, which is absolutely pathetic to make a comment like that and state that one of our best elite strikers is leaving the club because Eddie Howe said he would be a huge loss if he ever left the club. He's not talking about the window. He's saying he would be a huge loss if he wasn't around. So that doesn't say to me that, he's leaving or he's going elsewhere. It's, again, taking it way out of context just to suit their own needs and create stories that aren't there. It's really now getting absolutely boring. And this report goes on to say Newcastle could find it even tougher to keep hold of Isak in the summer should he maintain his success in front of goal. Now, all right, If a striker's banging in the goals, it's going to generate interest. Listen, I'm not stupid enough as a football fan to realise that if you have a player who is as good as Isak, there is always going to be interest for that player, no matter where he plays. Even if he played for Arsenal or Manchester United or Manchester City, there's always going to be interest from anybody else around Europe, especially, who would be interested in Isak. You know, there's been talk in the past about Barcelona, about Real Madrid being interested. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that because they are elite clubs. And, you know, there's a lot of players would love to play for a Barcelona or for a Real Madrid. But right now, Isak looks really happy with his football. He looks really happy in the squad. He's doing everything we've asked to do. And he could have had more goals yesterday. He could have actually had 5. But you know what? He's banged in a hat-trick. But he appreciates what his teammates are doing around him. We said a few weeks ago that Isak looked off the pace because he simply wasn't being involved in the game. We weren't playing to his strengths. Now we are. And that's the big difference for me. We're playing to Alex's strengths where he can get in. He's coming deeper for the ball. He's looking for it all the time now, whereas a few weeks ago he wasn't quite getting in the game. But we've changed our game again. And that's down to Eddie Howe. You know, so, not only the players have stepped up, but the manager's stepped up as well, as if to tinker things and change a few things. And the fact that he's got a good starting 11 there now that he realises have gelled together and he doesn't want to tinker with that. But just because he's banging in the goals does not mean, he's in the shop window. I mean, look, if a £140 million bid came in January or the summer, are we going to turn that down? I'm not so sure. Anything over £100 million, that would enable us to bring in a lot of players, guys, because of the restrictions with FFP. We know it would. But do we really want to lose Isak? We want to build. We want to have elite players all over the pitch for Newcastle United. But again, there is always this cloud hanging over us from down south that this club is a stepping stone. And it really pisses me off. It pisses a lot of Newcastle fans off that just because we're Newcastle United, we're North East team, everything's dull and grey up here, and it's a horrible place to live according to the Southern bias, and the players will eventually use Newcastle United to get going in the Premier League, and then obviously if there's a bigger Premier League team comes in, they're going to move. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. And I just hope, and this is the thing for me, I really do hope that in the very near future, we continue this progression under the PIF leadership, and we do get to that point where we are at the pinnacle of the Premier League and playing in Europe regularly. Because they might then realise that, Newcastle United do have pull and power. We do have what it takes to stay at the top, and it is a fantastic place for any footballer to live their lives in. It's a region that is friendly, beautiful countryside, beautiful coastline, but these pricks down south will never see that because they've never spent a bit of time up here, unless it's to play football. They've come up, they've spent a night in a hotel, they've played the match and they've buggered off back down south and they think all is royal down there. It's bollocks. It is bollocks. And you know what? I know a lot of people say, let's just ignore it. Let's not react to it. But at the same time, guys, what you have to think of is these people are not just saying that Newcastle is a dull area to live. They're saying that the club isn't great to play for. There's better things for these players down south. We have to stand up to it. And that's why I'm doing this video again this morning when I've read all of this crap out from TalkSport. For me, you have to stand up to it. Yes, you can sit and ignore it and just laugh at them. But at the same time, we as people from the area, Newcastle fans in general, whether you don't even live in the North East, we've seen a lot of people back us up who don't actually live in the North East and said that it's a beautiful place. And it is a beautiful place. And it will always be a beautiful place. But the fact of the matter is, we're always going to get this. So I feel, as a Newcastle United fan and somebody who lives in the North East, that we do have to stand up to these pricks. We have to. Because if we just sit down and let them trample all over us with these ridiculous stories of how crap the North East is, how everybody wants to use Newcastle United as a stepping stone, then we're just going to get trampled on as fans, as a club, as an area. It's all crap. It's all crap. And I feel like I have to do videos like this just to give our argument back. Because why should they get to say stuff about the North East all the time and we not react to it? We have to have our say on the area. And I'm pig sick of Southern media just saying that this area and the club are not great places to play. Because anybody that you've asked who's played for Newcastle in the past has loved their time here. And it really is. It's annoying, it's angering, and it's upsetting as well. Because we live in this area and we love it. Quite frankly, I would rather live here than London or Birmingham or wherever it may be. I love the region. I love what we have on our doorstep. The Pennines, the beautiful countryside, the coastlines. Everything is here that we need. And my family love it here. And I am sick to death. Sick to death of people trying to move on our players because they claim that South is best. It shouldn't be a North-South thing. You know, we are in the Premier League as a Newcastle United. We are a big club, well supported, in fact, magnificently supported. And that's why players like playing for Newcastle United. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, you know, putting stories out there that Eddie Howe is worried about Isak leaving and that there's no answer to that if he goes. Would you sell him? Would you sell Isak and then be able to afford, 3 or 4 decent players? Or do you think, like Eddie has spoken about in the past, that we need to keep these players, we need to build, because that's what we're doing. We're building a side to challenge at the top and to challenge in Europe. However long that may take, but that's what we are doing. That is the plans of the football club. But let me know below. If you have enjoyed the video, guys, please do, as usual, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel and like what you see, please do subscribe. As I record this, we're less than 50 away from 34,000 subscribers. So hopefully we'll hit that over Christmas. If not today, I'd love to hit it today, but we will see what happens. If you're watching this on Sunday, please join us tonight for the match review at 7 o'clock. We'll take a deeper dive into the game, of course. We'll talk about this again, no doubt, with the colleagues and see what they've got to say as well. And then tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, is the Christmas special, where it is basically give, give, give. We are giving back to you loads of prizes, guys. Member prizes especially. So if you're not a member, get signed up and we'll have quizzes and everything. So it's going to be a great show. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks, and we'll see you for the review. Take care.